Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of WooNews TV. I am your host, Julie Farha. This is our guest co-host and my dear friend, Claryen Riol. And we are very excited to be bringing WooNews TV to you starting today. So what we plan to do in this show from here on out is bringing spiritual concepts into the mainstream. The world is changing very quickly. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, some fear flying around. And there's also some beautiful reasons for all this happening. So bringing spiritual concepts into the mainstream will help you learn how to use these in your own life, use these tools and these modalities in your own life to become more centered, become more aware of your essence, to move through life with much more ease and elegance, and to impact what's going on in the world and in your world in a much more positive way. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'm going to toss it to Claryen, and she can tell you a little bit about her. Again, my name is Julie, and I am the host of this show. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm an intuitive and an empath and whatever list you want to put underneath all of that. I became aware of my abilities when I was young, maybe 7 or 8. And it was more of a situation of had this unique understanding of things, but didn't know what it was or what it meant or how it happened. I just knew it was really cool. And I grew up in a very traditional family. My father is an immigrant from Lebanon. My mother was born in this country, but her family was born overseas as well in Lebanon. I was raised Christian, went to Catholic school, very traditional upbringing in the 70s and 80s. So it wasn't until I started my own personal journey of spirituality and personal growth that I realized, oh, this is intuition, and I understood how my gifts and abilities work. This was probably my early 20s that all this started. So I did a couple careers in the meantime, and then I decided to move back to Scottsdale, Arizona, which is where I live, and go to the Southwest Institute of the Healing Arts to get a life coaching fundamental certification. And that is what started me on this path of doing this work. I work with private clients. I do energy healings on them. I do sessions where I help them see all of the aspects of a situation and their own involvement in it, their own gifts about it that are contributing to the situation. I give them all the information of this particular issue or situation so they can decide what they want to do with it. And we talk about where they want to go with it from there. So it's really all about you. All of this stuff is really all about you. You have the compass. I'm simply pointing to magnetic north. So that's what I do. And I'm really excited to be bringing you this WooNews TV. This has been a dream of mine for a long time, and it's now coming to fruition. And now I'm going to throw it to Claryen so she can tell you a little bit about her journey and who she is.
Thanks, Julie. I'm just to let you know, thank you for doing this. I think it's really needed in the world at this time. A lot of people are going through really heavy and strong energies. And I think this is going to be really beneficial for a lot of people. So first, thank you. I'm elated to be here. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm what you call, I guess I could call myself a modern day channelist with modalities that I have embraced to help me facilitate what my clients need. And to start off, I basically knew, I guess I could say that I was born woke and have had my guides be my parents. That's kind of, my parents really didn't know how to raise me. They just thought that I was a spacey child, but didn't know that I was listening constantly to my guides. And so as I got older, I had my aunt, bless her soul. She has since passed, but she really took me under her wing and just, gave me a packet that just said, this is who you are. This is who you have to become. Let's get to work. And so I finally felt like, wow, there's somebody that really understands me. And we kind of just took off from there. As I, got into my teens and, sharing experiences, predictions, I kind of freaked out my friends. And so they basically just said, we can't do that. And so I kind of locked myself in a box a little bit because it was too fearful for a lot of people to understand that kind of energy. And went through a lot of change, grew up in 2 regimented religious upbringings. And so I had, to face the guilt, the shame, everything that comes with the dogma of religion, and had to learn to overcome that. As I, you know, still was hiding myself in a box through my marriage, realized that my light was dying and I had to make a change. And so I actually filed for divorce and promised my guides that I would never, ever not listen to them again. And so with that, I basically have moved forward into my spirituality 100%, not afraid to be the person that I was sent here to be. And so I'm excited for this journey for both of us and for, the many guests that you'll have on this show. So thank you.
So on that note, the format of this show will be, sometimes it will just be me, and I will sometimes also have guests. So it'll be a mixed bag, and some of it will seem really woo-woo out there. Now, some of you might know the slang of woo-woo. Woo-woo means really out there, off the charts, esoteric kind of stuff. Some of it will be a little bit woo, some of it might be just a little bit wah. But our plan is to bring lots of different information to you, modalities, tools, concepts that are sometimes really out there, and try to make them somewhat applicable and relatable as much as we can. And some of it will resonate, some of it will not. This is not medical advice. This is not mental health advice. This is also not legal advice. This is simply information. You are your own guru. We are simply providing this platform for you to see this information, gain this information, and choose truly what is right for you, following your own intuition, your own gut feeling as that guide for what works for you. So we're going to do this first session today. We want to talk about what's going on out there, which is setting the platform for the need for spirituality, what it's about in a way, and why it's so helpful right now. How does that sound, Claryen? Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
So we're going to have a little conversation, and we're talking to you, but we're also talking to each other. So let's start with talking about the concept of everything is energy. Spirituality is rooted in that truth of everything is energy. And Albert Einstein told us, as well as other scientists and science in general, that everything is energy. And everything therefore vibrates through a different frequency. So the fact that everything is energy means that everything is malleable, that you are creating experiences with your own energy. What you're projecting, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's going on internally is directing what's going on externally. It directs how you react and respond to external situations. Doesn't mean you're causing horrible things to go on in the world. So please understand that. But it's about you understanding how your energy works and how energy in general works, so you can create your life according to your love and will, so you can connect to your true essence, which is the source of God. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, Claryen?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned, because it really reminds me of the traditional Zen spiritualism. The many, many gurus, for as long as we can remember, have taught about body, mind, and spirit. Mm-hmm. And as we move through this energy, I always like to think of, the body is the receptor of that energy. Our mind is the consciousness around. And as we move through and out of someone's energy, we're doing that energy exchange. And so it's highly critical that we, really communicate with the people that are going to be at that same frequency to keep you in that higher vibration. The universe doesn't care if it's positive or negative. They just say it's an exchange. And so I always like to think that we're surrounded by this, beautiful bubble that allows us to go in and out of each other's energy. That's what synergy is. It's that exchange between two people. Doesn't matter if you're sleeping by them, if you're talking with them, if you're, at work and you're several desks down. It doesn't matter, because energy goes clear across the world. So that's the one thing I always like to kind of think about. And when I teach my clients about energy and making those smart choices of keeping those the energy high vibration, that's the exchange that we're given to each other.
I always say, if we could all see energies, if they were that tangible, for some people they are, for some of us we feel them, for some it's just a very new thing that they're not connected to yet. But if we could all see energies, boy, would we move through life differently. We would make different choices on what we do, what we eat, what we say, who we relate with, who we're intimate with. Everything would change if we could actually see energies. So part of this content we want to share, that I'm intending to share over these shows that we do, is understanding more about how energy works and how yours works and what you can do with it and how you can direct it. So your life result is more according to your own will and love and preferences. So now let's talk about, Claryen. All of this leads to the big shift we're going through right now. She and I talk about this a lot. Yes. Now we're going to explain to you what this shift is about, and then we're going to give you some examples of how this might be showing up in your life, so it doesn't seem quite so abstract. So we can give it some real life understanding and relatability, hopefully. So, do you want to start with the awakening, or do you want?
And the thing is that people have to really know is it is a fabulous time to be on the planet at this time. It is
Although it seems a little scary, but yes.
Yes, but think about, really, if you really think of, even though the world is kind of a little, cray cray, but the energy of people waking up and really speaking their truth. We've never seen people start to come together and really, and I'm going to maybe be a little bit of woo woo right now.
Well, you're here, honey.
But the age of Aquarius is really where we're headed. And, that humanitarianism that we have to embrace as people. And so I just want to say it's going to be a fabulous time right now to be on the planet at this time. We get to be the witnesses, the pioneers that are going to make the changes for the new earth coming.
I would like to suggest that if you are watching this information, and if this information resonates with you, any of these shows to some degree, that you are part of that awakening and part of the movement to bring the light into the planet that we're going through now. And I want to clarify something, explain something a little bit further. When Claryen talks about awakening, some people might hear, you're awake. Well, I'm not. Okay, that can come off as rather judgmental, spiritually arrogant, something of that sort. That's not the case at all. What we mean, please correct me if this is not your interpretation as well, Claryen. What we mean by awakening is people are awakening to their true essence, their spirit, their connection to source, to God. We are all sparks of God. Every religion believes that as well. It's not just a woo-woo, new agey concept. We all have that essence within us. People are waking up to that true essence for the first time in some cases, or they're expanding what they already know or the awareness they've already had right now. And what that means is they're connecting more with spirit. They're wanting and seeking that connection more. They're connecting with more of who they truly are, their spiritual gifts of being an intuitive, being an empath, being a medium, being a healer, all these there's a whole list of potential spiritual gifts that we all have. They're waking up to those aspects of themselves and learning about them and wanting to embrace them and either use them in their own lives or share them with the world to help others. There's no right or wrong there either way, but that's what we mean by awakening. People are awakening to their own truth, to the process of really discovering what resonates for them. If this has been going on all the time this way, they're stopping and thinking, maybe this isn't right for me, or maybe this just isn't right. Maybe there's another better way to do things. That's where the coming together is happening, like you mentioned, right?
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, people are finding their own truth, and sometimes finding your truth could be validating something you've already believed. In a way, it doesn't mean you're finding something new, that what you were doing before was wrong or bad. It also could be validating a current truth you've already believed. Oh, yes, this is true for me. People are taking the time to figure that out, and they're using their intuition more and more. And their intuition is their inner guidance and their connection to source. So that's what we mean by awakening. People are waking up because there's more light, and therefore there's more light on the planet. So everything's going in a more positive direction, even though it might not look like it right now. There's going to be a little shaken up to get there, but it's all ultimately positive because of this awakening that we are all a part of.
Yeah, you mentioned, even though we're going through the shift currently, we're still going through those changes. Mother Gaia basically has to go through her shifts as well. She is a divine being.
Those who might not know what Mother Gaia is, please, what is Mother Gaia? Claryen?
Mother Gaia is our beautiful earth, our beautiful earth that we live on. And so she's going through her changes. She's going through, really going through that expression. That's why you're going to kind of see a lot more of the environmental changes, more volcanoes, more earthquakes. It's energy, right? She's got to release her energy just as we're releasing our energy. And you really pointed out, coming to our true essence. She's coming into her true essence so she can, ascend herself, just like all of us. So ascending is really advancing our light bodies into a higher consciousness. And once we advance our light body and we come to that higher consciousness, that's our true essence that you're talking about.
And the spiritual journey, the awakening is people waking up to that essence, which therefore expands their consciousness and expands their light body, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's all connected. So hope we're not losing anybody, but you can watch this a couple times and if you need to take notes. So finally, let's talk about, Claryen, what this means, what this could mean for you and how you might be experiencing it. So when all these shifts are changing, what's ultimately happening is the old, whatever that looks like, is falling away to make way for the new. The old energies are falling away. The darker, denser energies are falling away because the newer, lighter, more high vibrational energies are coming in because we are embracing those more and more and embodying those more and more. So whenever something ends, something begins. Whenever something begins, something has to end. And that's where the discomfort can be. And I see this playing out in some clients' lives. For example, relationships are coming to a head now. What hasn't been working in relationships that's just not sustainable anymore, people are splitting, which is ultimately for their highest good. It doesn't mean it's not painful. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean there's not dynamics involved. Absolutely. Things like that are happening. Job changes are happening. Financial problems are happening. Yet also people are seeing what is working even more, how the benefits of the relationship that they didn't recognize or maybe they took for granted, those are becoming more accelerated as well. The positives are becoming more accelerated and more advanced and expanded. But people are struggling in their relationships. They're struggling. They're having some health issues. People are leaving. People are transitioning and passing on, and they're helping from the other side. And that's what you might have some confusion of what you want to do with your work. You want to stay where you are. You want to do something different. All confusion is really common right now because we're in the liminal, we're in the in-between stage of this transition. So go with that and don't stress over, but that's how it's showing up, might be showing up in your world. What are you seeing, Claryen?
Yeah, I see that quite a bit with my clientele as well. And I have to remind everyone, as we go through these changes, we have to remember that unconditional love is the main concept, okay? And especially with energy, when we're talking like energy, moving in and out and making those exchanges. When you come into your true essence, you're going to not resonate with some of the energy that is next to you. Right. And a lot of people have to remember it is love. You're giving love by allowing that person, if the two of you are not meant to be any longer, you've learned your lessons, it is divine love to let them go so that you can advance and they can advance and, find something or someone that's going to be more resonant to their new essence. So don't feel guilty about, sometimes we fall into this guilt and shame that we're letting go of a really long relationship, when actuality, it is that self-love that we have to remember. And when we reach that self-love, all the aspects of fear, the opposite of love, will diminish. And you'll start to really move into your true essence of where you're supposed to be in your life. So,
something I read a long time ago when I first started reading about this stuff, about 30 years ago, it said, doing what is right for you is ultimately doing what's right for others. Now, that was weird for me to read that because it seems so foreign and went so much against how I was raised and just being kind and thinking of others and being in unity with people around you. But the more I thought about that, I want you all to think about this and spend some time sitting with this, because the more I thought about it, it made sense. It's not as selfish as it sounds. If I'm in a relationship with Joe Schmo and it truly isn't right for me, and yet I stay in it, that's not good for him either, because his needs and preferences aren't being met as well as they could be with someone else. And which also leads me to the comment you made about unconditional love. I want to say unconditional love doesn't mean you like everybody all the time, or you agree with what they're doing, or you think what they're doing is okay. just means you are standing in detachment and non-judgment and loving them from afar and giving them that blessing, if you will.
I couldn't agree anymore. That
Yeah.
was perfectly said.
So what all this comes down to is the shifts that's going on, the fact that everything is energy, how you're seeing it in your own life. Spirituality all comes down to you. Spirituality 101, which is probably something we'll do one of these days. It all comes down to you. You are in control. Becoming more self-sovereign of your own spirituality, of your essence, of your energy field, of your emotions, of your body, of your mindfulness, of your thoughts, of your words, of your choices, of how you live your life and how you move around the world. Becoming more in control of that is all about energy. And the more you understand that and can harness that and can work with that and can heal wounds that you have, release old fears that no longer serve you, release patterns, recognize these things within you, then you can live this life that you want to live, have an impact on your world that's positive. But it all comes down to you. Lazarus has always said, I studied the Lazarus material for years. I've always said, nothing changes until you do. And that's one of my favorite quotes, because what's going on outside of your individual world is an essence, is an expression of what's going on with you. And we're all individual consciousness, part of the global collective consciousness. So your consciousness is projecting out into your own world. And as you change you, as you heal that wound, as you release that fear, as you change that pattern, as you work more with your own energy and lift your vibration and continue to lift it higher and higher, your external world changes. So it is really all about you, right?
It is. Yeah. And usually I'm channeling all the time. So one of the things, the quotes that came to my mind as you were speaking is from The Secret. I don't know if anybody has, watched it. It's been several years since, that came into my world, but energy flows where intention goes. So anytime your intentions are true to your, true essence, that's what's going to come back to you 100%.
And the brilliant thing about this now with the timing of what we're doing, Claryen, is there's so much science behind this now, quantum physics. There's so much science behind what we're talking about. These aren't just abstract, esoteric concepts that you have to take on faith.
Agreed.
There's real science, brain science behind all of this. So we're going to be touching on all of this, down the road here and there, and it's all going to stream together and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So real quick, let's give everybody a couple takeaways before we go into the final segment. Takeaways: everything is energy. Keep that in mind, right?
Yes.
We're going through a big shift on this planet. That's why things are looking and feeling a little scary. It is ultimately good. But just keep in mind, there's a bigger picture to everything. Things might be going on in your world that are a little shaky. You might feel a little out of control. You do have control. You do have the power. There's tools out there to help you harness that and recognize that. So don't be too afraid. What do you have to offer?
I just want to, really let people know that sometimes when we're talking about energy and these really abstract topics, just to go deep within themselves, to really check in with their own intuition. I always tell my son, question everything. Because when you question, that's where you find the deep answers. And that's what's going to relate to you. So my takeaway is question everything.
And we all don't have to agree. That's the whole point, because we're all different levels of consciousness, moving through different things, having different experiences. Unity doesn't mean that we all think the same way. Unity means we all have our own peg in this big picture and we're in the big picture together, right?
Yes. We want a rainbow of colors. We don't want just one color. That's like, it's boring.
It's boring. Not fun at all. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time.